really junior kid come in, and the ACDs he was interviewing with was like, so do you know anyone here? Like, how'd you find out we were hiring? And they're like, oh yeah, I know this guy. His name's, I know Jeff Gillette. And the guy he was talking to was like, that's funny, I am Jeff Gillette and I don't know you. He name dropped to this person that was sitting in front of him. Make sure if you drop someone's name, you've really met them. It was, that like sealed that kid's fate. Like, basically Jeff Gillette was like, I'm done. Like, I don't need to talk to this kid anymore. Don't like, and it's like, again, it's a really small industry. Make sure you know, like, you've got your butt covered, you know, because people are going to ask about you, people are going to know about you. I was just at VCU a couple weeks ago, which like, they had their huge portfolio review. All the recruiters went out to dinner together, got drunk, talked about who they liked, talked about who they didn't like. My one really good friend who actually went to my med school with me too is doing recruiting. She was like, oh, I met this guy, total douchebag. Guess what? I didn't waste my time with them. Like, if my good friend, who's also a recruiter, is telling me, don't waste your time, I'm not going to. Be nice to everybody. It's really important. So, the next thing is, again, like getting back to the whole like name dropping thing, is like know your audience, know who you're going to talk to. No, I hate when people come in and they're like, it's obvious they maybe looked at our website. Like, know something about the place. You know, like, talk about stuff you've read recently. Talk about, ask questions about new clients. Ask questions about campaigns. Ask like in-depth stuff. Don't just look at their website. Like, Google the ECD. All the ECDs at these big agencies, they have bios up on the Addies, on One Club sites, everywhere. And they're pretty, I mean, they're not just like standard, like, he won all these awards. Some of them are pretty interesting. Alex just talks about how he loves Tex-Mex and hates St. Louis. You know, like, find things to talk about with these, oh, sorry. He was from St. Louis. It's okay. Find things to talk about with these people. You know, at the end of the day, actually, it's kind of, the timing of this is kind of funny because the past 2 weeks, Alex's assistant was out and I covered for her. And it was probably, so for 2 weeks, basically, I was Alex Bogusky's assistant. And afterwards, even people in the agency were like, what was it like? You know, what was the craziest thing he did? I'm like, he's a regular dude who has 2 kids and a wife. You know, like, these are just regular people. Like, some of them are advertising superstars, but at the end of the day, they go home to their wife and kids, they have normal lives. You know, like, find something normal to talk to them about. And like, just from being with Alex for 2 weeks, I could tell he hates when people like tiptoe around him. It makes him feel uncomfortable, you know? Another good story before I get into my quiz is that we have, I don't know if you guys have heard about this, we have a bus at Crispin. Because Boulder's a pretty small town, we have very limited parking. You saw how bad the parking was. The parking situation's horrible. So Alex is trying to get people to take a bus into the office. So we have the Crispin Porter and Bogusky bus that goes around, it's like a school bus that goes around Boulder, picks people up, brings them into the office. And we have a ton of interns right now, so the interns are riding it. And one morning, and I have the story like secondhand from Alex, so I know exactly how it happens. Alex is sitting on the bus, like doing his work, and this intern starts kind of complaining about how one of the creatives is making her rewrite her copy so much. She didn't know who Alex was. And Alex is telling me a story, and I'm like, you were sitting right next to her? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, and I'm like, she didn't know who you were? He's like, I don't think so. And she was a creative intern. I mean, it's one thing if it's like an account intern or a media intern. She was a creative intern. I'm like, she at least had to know what he looks like. Know the people in the industry. It's like really, I mean, you'll bump into them at industry events, at like random things. I bumped into Alex in Miami at an Outback Steakhouse. You know, like, make sure you know who people are. So that's the next part of the thing. It's a little fun little quiz I have. I have prizes. About knowing the people in your industry. So prizes to whoever can name these people.
Do you need both?
Either.
Alex.
Alex Bogusky.
Good.
And then that's David Drogon.
Right. These are available online too. So. Oops. Next two.
Jerry, you're Grappin, right? And then I think that's Pete from
Yeah. You already
Arnold.
know. Pete from Arnold. It's just a little harder. Ty Montague from JWT and Bob Scarpelli from DVD.
Eric Silver.
Great.
Mark, 2 South Road.
Thank you. Oh, like he's in Chicago. Come on. Well, he's in Chicago sometimes. This is a hard one, but this is for the super prize. I don't know how many of you guys know about this. Hoopla is the book we wrote about the agency. It's a really cool book, all about like the first, probably like the beginning of the agency until the move to Boulder. Has all really cool stuff. So whoever can name this lovely lady gets my copy of Hoopla.
I think Alex or something.
Is it Jean Marie or something like that?
It's probably close to Marie Catherine Dupree from TVWA.
What?
At all. Yes. She's a tough one though.
I could have just thrown out any like French name, not that one.
But my dad told me I have to tell you that Hoopla is available on sale for the web. Support TPB. But it is a really good book. Pretty much everyone, we didn't give them out when they came out. Pretty much everyone in the agency bought one.
Wait, but also, did you say this is the last run?
Well, this is there was a first run, so there's very few of these actually left. At half.com has some. Amazon doesn't have any new ones. They have people charging like $150 for them. I don't want to see that on eBay. But the more the people sign up for like the waiting lists, they're going to do the second run soon. So it's a really good book, but don't pay over $40 for it. Don't bid on it for someone who wants a stupid amount of money for it. But again, so getting back to it, just like know the people in advertising, especially if you're going to get, I spent the week in New York at all the shows. You want to be able to, when someone comes up to you and is looking at your book, you want to know who they are. You can't know everybody, but you want to know the big time players because you want to, try and make a connection with them. The next point I'd make is be a student of the industry. And it's not just about going to portfolio school. It's about, reading all the books that everyone tells you to read. You should read Hey Whipple Squeeze This. Like seriously, I read that book back when I was in school. I met Luke Sullivan like a month ago. It was like the coolest thing ever for me. He's an extremely smart man. His book's extremely smart. He was really cool and laid back. There's a ton of great advertising books. I Googled advertising on Amazon. There's a ton of great books. Read all of them. Read as many of them as possible. They are really good. They're great to know about the industry. Read all the, look through all the annuals and awards books. Another great thing that Luke Sullivan said in his speech was that look at all the award books they all have great ideas and great concepts. You can't use any of those. They're done. If you use any of them, you're pretty much a hack. Use them because they're crafted so well. The ads are laid out beautifully. The ads are crafted really, really well. Look at those as examples of great art direction, great writing, for the way they're doing it. You can't use the concept, but you can, take from the design and learn from them and things like that. And two, I've seen not so great people with books people come in with not so great books, but they just know so much about advertising and they're really passionate about it. Creative directors love that, especially the older ones. They love people that are passionate about the industry. I had a girl who came in, her design wasn't so tight, but she was just really passionate and she knew she was coming in to interview with the interactive creative director, studied up on interactive, talked about all kinds of things going on in the industry, and at the end my boss was like, you know what, she's not that strong, but I can put her somewhere and she will grow in that place because he's like, she is so passionate about interactive, I want her in this place. That pretty much her knowledge of the industry got her the job. And that girl started in our art department, and in 2 weeks she's going to become a designer and then an art director. So it's really again, it gets back to having things to talk about with people. Know what you're going to say, have things to connect with them on. Otherwise, you'll just, seriously, if your creative's asking you, and my creatives will do this, if they start asking you weird questions, like, what's your favorite color, and da-da-da-da, it's what they typically do when they don't know what else to talk to you about. So have things to connect with them on. My second thing is going to be my plug for interactive, or my fifth thing. is going to be my plug for interactive.